So yesterday, I went to a record sale in Green Bay, which for those of you who don't know, that's like 30 minutes from here. So I'd gone to it before, and it's in this old like dumpy building that it used to be like a tanning salon or something like that. And you go in there, and there's just a bunch of tables and like plastic, almost like tote, not like a Tupperware kind of tote, but like long boxes that are probably clearly made for records. There's like curtains up, and behind the curtains are just like piles of random garbage and shit like that. So anyway, Aaron, shout out to Aaron, previous host here. We went there, and I always spend a lot of money there because it's a lot of records to go through. And that place was so freaking dusty, and I don't know what was in the air, but by the time I left that place, and we were there for probably like an hour and a half, my sinuses were just pouring. It was so dry, my throat was just like burning, and I thought I was like really freaking sick. And I got home, and I'm like shooting nasal spray, taking cold medicine, all kinds of stuff. Needless to say, I passed out pretty hard last night when I fell asleep. And I wake up, and I'm like, I feel freaking great. So I think that place just really aggravated my sinuses.
Uh-oh. Did you name a name already of this location? Or
I want to say, I think, if I remember correctly, there's a little flyer that they send out. I found this because there was a record convention in Green Bay.
Okay.
And I didn't invite any of these guys because we're not actually friends and I don't like them.
Fucking thank God.
And then, like, you get on a mailing list, and then there's this other guy who's, like, wheelchair bound, and he will occasionally, like, have sales as well. And it's, like, it's on University Road. It's, like, a total freaking dive. And, of course, like, you get in there and you're elbow to elbow with everybody and stuff like that, you know.
Is this just something like, it's just like a pop-up where they move shit in for the day?
No, I think these people like stay there all the time, but then they have a convention at like it's like an elk hall or something, like a community space, like in a different part of the city where a bunch of people come in. And I went to that one once, and then I went to this guy's place twice. And that first one, I got some really freaking good deals at that place. There's always those people that are like going to Target and buying crap, and then they bring it in and then they mark it up $10, $15. And I'm like, why would I buy this from you?
Yeah.
But then there are the guys that are there that are like from the, you know, the old days, and they're like, hey, I got all these records. You know, they're all in pretty decent shape, and they're just selling them for like a reasonable price. Even this guy who's clearly got the biggest selection at that thing, most of the time his stuff's really well priced, but every now and then you'll be like, why would I pay $60 for this?
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, this is I know Kiss, there's a lot of Kiss bootlegs in there. And I'm like, I can tell this is a bootleg, and I don't buy bootlegs. I mean,
really? No bootlegs, huh?
No, I did not that long ago when I was in Madison buy one inadvertently. It was this soul singer, Ruby Johnson. Apparently, like, she only ever released like 7-inch singles, and somebody did this like bootleg album, and I bought that, and I think it was a Volt. Most of her stuff's on Volt.
Okay.
And I bought that, and I'm like, so that's really technically the only bootleg I have at the moment. So, and then it was really funny. Like, my friend Aaron and I were like digging through the crates, and this guy, he's wheelchair bound. He can very basically speak at like best, and I could hear his mom, I'm assuming his mom or his sister or somebody going, it's okay, everything's priced, people are buying them, you know, and like, we can't take them down now, you know, like that type of stuff. So I'm like, I get it. You know, like, you probably is attached to all those.
Oh yeah.
So, but I don't ever have a problem spending money there, because I'm sure it probably goes to this guy's care.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
So
I've been to some pretty cool like places that they were either guys who clearly had at one time owned a record store and now just kind of did the flea market circuit or something like that, or just always kind of had maybe like an unofficial record store out of their garage and would like,
their basement,
you know, open it up every now and then.
They just put out like the rummage sale sign in the yard. You don't really, it's not really advertised, but if you drive around the neighborhood, you'll see 4 or 5 signs like record sale today.
Yeah, well, and he does it like, you know, twice a month or something. Yeah.
Have you guys ever like gone on like the Facebook Marketplace and like tried to find not auctions, like garage sales where they're like, I have records here?
Actually, no, I haven't.
I have. I mean, I used to do it with the classified ads when I was a kid.
Well, let me tell you what my experience is. Every single time I've ever done that, like I plot my day out, I'm going to go record hunting at all of these garage sales. It'll say starts at, I don't know, 9 a.m., 10 a.m., whatever it is. And I get there early because I'm always early for everything. And then by the time I get there, and it's still not that time, but there's 50,000 dudes already going through all the records, and there's nothing left except for like Mitch Miller and Lawrence Welk.
Right. and a copy of The First Family.
Yes.
Like that, yeah.
There's always Herb Alpert.
Yeah, right.
Herb Alpert.
Yeah.
I mean, I probably have like 7 of those.
That's right. I mean,
like,
those are the records that were always available like back in like the 80s and 90s at garage sales and shit. Like,
if you ever want to have a laugh, and I'm not gonna like ruin the number here, but look up how many copies of the Herb Alpert whipped cream are on Discogs. It's a lot.
It's insane. There was a really awesome record store I used to go to in Seattle, and the name escapes me now. But
Loose End.
like, what's that? Yeah, no, Loose End, totally. Like, and I went there quite a bit. It's right, like Capitol Hill area. But they just had like copies of whipped cream on the wall, just like, 50 of them or something. Just because like,
Don't get me wrong, it's a cool cover. Like I would struggle to think of like a brass musician like that.
Herb Alpert's all right.
Yeah.
He's got his sound.
And that lady that's on there, she's hot. Let's just call it. Yeah. I honestly didn't realize that entire thing that she's wearing is whipped cream. At the first couple times I looked at it, I'm like, that's all whipped cream. And I'm like,
all whipped cream all the time, James.
All right.
I actually might have this. Looking at that, I'm just like, I don't even know why I have so many of those. I think just like people like will give me their collections because they just get sick of carrying them around, but they don't want to throw stuff away. And it's usually like with like the people that have done that, it's usually like stuff they've inherited from their parents. It's a lot of old country, which is great.
I found these records in my basement.
Yeah, would you like them?
Steve's a loser that likes records.
Dude, I've been given like some pretty great collections over the years. Same thing. Like people are just like, it's a little tougher now that like there's been this resurgence, but like,
yeah, I don't think people realize how like cutthroat record collecting is around here even.
Yeah.
Like I feel like people are freaking brutal in this area about it. Like garage sales, we got so many flippers and stuff, and it's just like it's hard to go find stuff in the wild, honestly.
It is, and it kind of sucks. I mean, one of the things I loved about record collecting, like starting from when I was a kid, was that like old enough to go to garage sales and stuff, was that like it was a great way for me to try out music for cheap and like stuff kind of from another era. A lot of times, like I couldn't afford CDs, but like people were practically giving away their records back then. I mean, they did. Like I said,
I mean, yeah. If we could go back to the '90s in a time machine,
that was awesome.
Oh, goodness,
we would wreck people. Like we would have so many freaking like records, it'd be disgusting.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Anyway, I suppose we should probably hit the road here.
Should we start the show now?
Yeah,
right.
I mean, do you guys want to do like another 30-minute, cold open?
Yeah. Did people like that? Did we get a lot of response?
I don't know. Nobody commented on
it. What did
it.
the fan mail say?
I loved. We haven't gotten any fan mail yet.
Oh man.
Yeah, that makes me sad.
Aw.
Guys are slacking.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't get any hate mail either, so I mean, I guess it's
Even
like
worse.
Yay. Nobody got mad about you getting that specials lyric wrong.
You're right.
All right, let's do it. What's up, party people? It's your friends, the guys who like to sit and talk about all them vinyl records, just music in general, because we love it. I'm James Dorn, and with me is my guy,
Steve Main.
And we are coming from the greatest studio on the planet, Moonhop Studios, with Moonhop Media. The owner himself is here, making us sound oh so smooth.
I'm Stu.
Stu. So yeah, if you need some audio work, Stu's your guy. All right. So we got a couple things for you today. We're going to talk about some news, of course. Actually, we got a lot of news. because it's been a while.
It has been a bit.
I missed you guys.
Yeah.
We missed you too, James.
Like, I don't know about you guys, but like, you know, we finish an episode and we're like, man, that was good. I really liked that. I had a good time. And then eventually you're like, oh, life gets in the way, and you're just like, oh, we should probably do another episode. And then like when we get a date locked down, then I start getting all jacked up again. I'm like, I want to talk about music. It's going to be exciting. I'm going to have fun. I miss those guys.
You know, it's funny. It was only like 5 days ago that I took down all of this sound, like the blankets and stuff. I was like, all right, it's been a while. I should probably get the room back in order.
Yeah,
And
these,
then, like-
these guys are done. They're not going to come back.
Yeah.
So no, we just life got in the way like it often does, and we just had some things going on, and we couldn't make it work. So anyway, let's do a little housekeeping. Talk about some music and collections that we maybe bought, maybe didn't buy, what we're into. So Stu, let's start out with you, man. What are you into these days?
Oh, dude. Well, so I picked up some records recently. Hearkening back to a few episodes ago.
Hearkening.
Yeah.
That's a big word.
Wow.
My mom was an English teacher.
Starting out like really just like at level 10. Nowhere to go but down.
I feel like we just got classier.
Wow. I don't even want to finish my sentence now. Back to our Christmas episode. So my sister
It's a holiday special.
It was a holiday special, wasn't it? Yeah. Boy, do you remember the review, the music and everything, the dancing?
Yeah.
People are still talking about it.
People like Elvis showed up.
Yeah.
I still Sideshow Bob still hasn't left my house.
So you're saying your sister.
Anyway, my sister was out of town for Christmas. They had an away thing. So we had a very late Christmas gift exchange, and I got just one more record for Christmas.
Just one more record.
Yeah, which was The Damned, Evil Spirits.
Ooh, nice.
So that was pretty cool. I went down to Eroding Winds, and I found a copy of, man, I'm not even going to be able to say the name of it right, but it's a Magma record. I think it was, do you know Magma at all?
I do not.
Oh man, probably like maybe the weirdest band.
While you're talking about that, I'm going to look it up to see if I can find them on
unique band. Yeah,
Apple
so
Music.
they're actually they're a band that's led by the drummer, which I think you'd appreciate.
I like him already.
Steve. Yep. His name's Christian Vander. He's Dutch, and he started the band because he said he wanted to fill like a hole that was left by the death of John Coltrane. And apparently all of the music he claims that he's ever written is inspired by John Coltrane. It does not sound like jazz music.
They got a lot. They got a lot of stuff out, and I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not going to even try to pronounce any of these album names.
No, well, here's the thing: you can't. I mean, it's hard because all of the lyrics are sung in an invented alien language from the planet Cobia, and they sing in Cobian, and it's like operatic and prog rocky and like somehow kind of fusion jazzy. Like it is bizarre stuff. We saw them in concert
Reminds me of
a few
like
years ago. And
Coheed and Cambridge or something. Like
so much weirder than that.
We'll talk about that.
Way weirder.
I'll talk about what I mean by that when you're done with your story.
Anyway, no, the point is just like they had one of their records, and it was an early one, like maybe the second one, and I'd never heard it. So I picked that up, pretty psyched. And what else? I was at like an antique mall recently in Kaukauna, which I like to dig through the records at those places.
Oh, I do too. You can actually get some really good stuff once in a while.
You can, yeah, depending on who's doing it. Some guys, I mean, those antique malls, like everything in there, like sometimes it's priced like obscenely, but
yeah,
some dudes,
if you pay attention to like the antique malls pages on Facebook and stuff, sometimes they'll have sales and you can get in and get some good deals.
Yeah. Yeah, but some people are just like, they're just good about cleaning out their records, and they're all like in pretty good condition and
Usually.
like reasonably priced. So I picked up a Mott the Hoople.
I love Mott the Hoople.
Do you love Mott? Yeah. So this was
all the young dudes.
Yeah. An early, a collection of their early stuff. So it's a compilation, but it's got some kind of weird stuff on there, and I think that one's called like Rock and Roll Queen.
Which is a sweet name.
Yeah, right?
It's also my name for James.
I'll wear it proudly.
Yeah.
I know you love Queen.
10 years after their album Watt, and I know, a John McLaughlin record. It's okay. I picked up like 2 records that are like that are fusiony. The Brecker Brothers was another one, heavy metal bebop, and like I'm always so iffy on like fusion because like sometimes it's awesome and sometimes it just is like leaves me. It's like cheesy, leaves me a little cold. Like,
so you're saying like we got someone who has like a blatant certain style, and then they start trying to incorporate elements of other music.
Well, no, these are like jazz fusion.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, yeah, well, I mean, yes, I guess that is true. It was like jazz fusion was basically an attempt to like fuse jazz with rock music. And some people do. I like it better when rock musicians incorporate jazz than when jazz musicians incorporate rock. I think it's usually more successful.
Is it all the cymbals?
No.
Could be.
No, you know, the jazz guys often, like, when they try and like play rock and roll, like they make it funky. And like it's like a cheesy kind of. It's like they don't really know how to rock.
Yeah.
Very few of them.
You need to be born to rock.
You do, yeah.
Yeah.
And I like
Jazz
John
guys
McLaughlin.
are
Like I
not.
like Mahavishnu Orchestra. They were cool, but this album was okay. You know, even though it had some like pretty heavy hitters from the jazz world on it, like it was okay. Anyway, so that's where I'm at, dude. There's probably 1 or 2 more records, but they're not coming to me right now.
Well, I was talking to Steve earlier, and like, did you get some stuff? He's like, yeah, but I can't really remember what they are.
I know. It's been a couple weeks, and I've been busy with work and life and stuff. And one record I really wanted to buy, I found and I sent you a picture of it, and I can't. It wasn't Sublime. No, it was a Less Than Jake.
Oh, Less Than Jake. Yeah,
it was a Less Than Jake. I don't believe it was a picture disc. I don't even know. Actually, I don't even think I pulled it out of the sleeve. But it was this like signed copy of.
Oh wow!
I can't remember if it was like a live album or what the deal was with it. I had pictures of it because I sent them to Stu. Actually, maybe it's on the Messenger.
Probably is.
Do you think at some point Less Than Jake's going to change their name to Just As Good As Jake?
Yeah, just plain old Jake from now on.
Yeah, like or I'm working on myself, but I'm still less than Jake.
Yeah.
Or like, it's Jake.
Yeah.
Just
well, you know that term Jake, right? Like that's an old
I'm gonna be honest
expression.
with you, I know absolutely nothing about that band.
Oh, here it is. I found the pictures.
pretty fun.
So it is Less Than Jake. B is for B-sides. And it's on Smart Punk Records. It's basically like a white album cover with like it's got like a B shape with like a skull, like face. Signed by all the guys. But the one of the things that kind of turned me off, it was like, oh, it's a test press. But then it's numbered number 79 of 115. And I'm like, how is 115
test presses?
It's not a test press. Like, I was really turned off by that. I was like, and
Can you imagine they get all the way up to 110 and they're like, man, I can't believe this press is still working.
Yeah.
Like, it's testing great.
Well, it's kind of like
and they wanted $150 for it. I was like, are you kidding me? Like, if it was one of 5, okay, in my opinion.
it makes me wonder like if it's actually a test pressing.
Oh, it's not.
Well, I mean, on Dan Auerbach's Easy Eye Sound, they a lot of times will have test pressings for sale, and I'd like to think Dan Auerbach is like a stand-up guy wouldn't do that, but I'm leery to drop like $100 some on something there too. But like even when they release an album from one of their artists, and not all of them are super popular, you can buy an autographed copy of the album, and it's like $1 or $2 more. It's really not that bad. And then what they do is they'll send you the normal album shrink wrapped in the original sleeve, and then they send you like an extra copy of the cover that's what's signed, and then you can choose to swap it out or not. Which the one single one I bought was Yola's second album, and I paid for it because my wife and I both like Yola. So
Yeah, I did pay. I paid $100 for a test pressing one time, but it was like a good friend of mine, and I wanted to support him. Like it was like that's the only reason.
Who was that?
Sam Birchfield.
Oh yeah, good old Sam.
Because he actually gave me a copy of his a test pressing of his first record that he ever pressed, and then when he was coming out with his second one, I was like, hey man, like what's the test pressing situation? He's like, well, I got one for you, and I was like, well, let me give you something for it, and so I slipped him a hundy, and
I'd pay that much for test pressing a Butch Walker record. But,
certain things.
And like when he was having his contest, like when we went to that show, and Butch Walker's like said in his videos, like there's 2 of them. So I think that's probably actually a test pressing.
Yeah. Yeah, I think standards anywhere from 2 to 6. It seems like to be, and it's because I've just looking into just the process of getting a record pressed. Just kind of some of the research I've done. It seems like that's kind of a fairly standard number. Like when you choose, it's like that's usually the range. It's pretty much always less than 10 from what I've seen. And I'm sure you can order more if you want, and I love Less Than Jake. Don't get me wrong, but I was like, really 115? Like,
well,
that just seems a little over the top.
Maybe
I'm
it's
sure
just
grumpy
that
cat guy coming out, but
well, I mean, was it their pricing or was it the record store? You know,
well, it's not even the pricing of
or
it.
It's just bothering you. There was
Simply
115.
that they're trying to call it 115, and that's probably not even the band's. That's just the record company.
Sure.
Well, I think they're probably trying to pull in the less educated people. And I think what a lot of people don't know, so if anybody's listening to this, you don't know what the significance of a test pressing is. Generally what this is, it's the first X number that come off the pressing. And usually they give them to the artist and maybe a label for them to listen to it, make sure they don't have any issues with it before they start the mass production of the main pressings of it. Usually they come in a blank sleeve and it'll say stuff like test pressing on the center label and things like that. And the idea is that the further you get down the pressing, like there's some degradation in the plates to a point, so then the sound quality isn't good. So that's kind of like why MoFi records, like the Japanese pressings, were preferred by a lot of people like in the 70s because they would do small batches. Their quality control was much higher with that. And then another thing that a lot of places aren't doing now because there's such a shortage on pressing plants, like there's like a 24-hour period you're supposed to let the records cure before you wrap them up and stuff like that. And a lot of people aren't doing it, and it shows, honestly. So I think what these people, whoever did it with Less Than Jake, what they're missing is they should have had, the test pressings, but then they wanted to make a special version. They should have been like, hey, this is an early press, make it a different color or something like that. First 100 and whatever it was, and they could have just sold it like that. And honestly, some of the people would have still paid for it, but you didn't have to call it a test pressing.
Yeah.
That's misrepresentation, and it shows your ignorance, honestly.
Yeah, really, yeah.
So anyway, get off my soapbox.
Not that we blame Less Than Jake personally.
No,
they're a bunch
we
of
don't
swell
blame
guys
them. We blame the man.
fun music.
I mean, everybody from Florida is a swell guy.
right? Yeah, we all played with Less Than Jake.
Yeah, Jacksonville, right? Go Jags.
Are they Jacksonville?
No, they're
Gainesville.
Gainesville,
They're
yeah.
Gainesville,
I had no
man.
idea.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just know everybody from Jacksonville is a special kind of person.
Yeah, Gainesville. There's a crap ton of great bands that have come out of Gainesville. I've been to Gainesville once.
Hot Water
kind of visiting
Music
through, but
and Against Me and Less Than Jake.
yeah,
Tom
This is
Petty.
This is why I like.
that's right. Tom
I like
Petty.
doing this with you guys because you know all these bands that I don't know, so I think it brings a good variety to it. So,
Yeah.
so next up we got some news. So, one of the news stories that I got is probably one of my absolute favorite ones that I came across. So following a 50-year legal battle, John Fogerty, founding member of CCR, has regained global publishing rights to the remainder of the band's songs. As of this January, I own my songs again, said John on Twitter. This is something I thought would never be a possibility. After 50 years, I am finally reunited with my songs. So 65 of their songs, including Bad Moon Rising, Have You Ever Seen the Rain, Proud Mary, and Fortunate Son, are back with John.
As it should be.
That's pretty awesome. So was it just the record label had owned the publishing or something?
Sure.
Or
I actually got a little bit of the history of that
cool.
here. So the whole thing kicked off when the late music mogul Saul Zantes signed Fogerty as a teen. This was in the mid-'60s to Fantasy Records. Fantasy and Fogerty actually traded lawsuits back and forth. At one point, they actually sued him because he sounded too much like himself, basically. like they claimed that he was trying to rip off CCR's music, and then ultimately that did get dismissed because we can't blame an artist for sounding like himself.
Yeah.
So, and then Fogerty claimed that they misled him with bad investments. They absorbed his royalties. Then this label, Fantasy, was sold to Concord in 2004. They quickly restored the royalties and actually increased them. And then it was like something like 25 years that he hadn't seen a dime. That's messed up.
Yeah.
It really is. Yeah.
That is terrible. And then the deal came, was an undisclosed amount. Concord maintains the master recordings that they still have in their possession, and then they continue to administer Mr. Fogarty's share of the catalog for an unknown period of time. So I think basically they're going to still continue to publish for him.
Okay. That's interesting, man. Fantasy and Concord, like I associate that label with jazz. Like, and I could be wrong, but like I don't think there's a lot of rock music on Fantasy.
I think the Allman Brothers Live at Fillmore was on Fantasy as well, because I have 2 copies of that, and I remember going, oh, this is the same label that CCR was on.
Okay.
So either way, I'm super freaking happy. And I'm just going to put this out there. If they release like a remastered version of all of those albums with extra stuff, I'll buy every one of those copies, because I would want Mr. Fogarty to get some money for his music, and he's been getting screwed for too long.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. So cheers to you, buddy. And then and there was a video on the Twitter, and it was like him with a cake and stuff like that.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. It was like, that's good. I would have been in that office that day that those royalties returned and been like, I want them. Like, I want my master recordings. But it sounds like I think it was going to happen soon anyway. Like, I think that deal was going to, expire. Anyway. Brandon Urie of Panic at the Disco has announced via social media that the band will be discontinuing after this current tour. The band released their 7th and now final album, Viva Las Vengeance, in August of 2022. I don't know if you guys listen to it. It's actually a really good album.
Okay. Yeah, I very little bit of Panic at the Disco.
Yeah, I actually have that album. I'd gotten it. My daughter Raina, she loves Panic at the Disco, so I saw it one day. I think I paid like $9 for it.
Okay.
Like brand new, and I was like, "How? It's a brand new record. How did I?"
Yeah, I don't know why you got it.
I kind of can't.
That cheap.
What a deal for this cheap old man.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Did you pull out your wallet and went, well, I guess we'll get this one?
Dusted off that $10 bill and found a quarter on the floor, and it was mine.
Yeah, I probably will buy that. I forget what the name of the song, but there's another loose end. There's a song on that album that my friend that I work with, Pat, he's like, have you heard it? He's like, it's a banger. He talks like us because he's old too.
It's a banger.
And he played it for me, and I'm like, dang, this doesn't sound like them at all. So I was like, this is really good. So anyway, sounds like he just had his first kids come in and wants to be with his family and stuff, and I respect him for that.
Oh yeah, they've made enough money to last them the rest of their life.
And they were gonna break up at one point because he started this with, I think, 2 other guys, and they left years ago. Mm-hmm. So he was really kind of a one-man show for the most part with these other people. So indie publisher Primary Wave has acquired a portion of the Doors catalog. This includes publishing, master recordings, trademarks, merchandising, options, and this is from the portion that was owned by Robbie Krieger, that's the guitarist, and keyboardist Ray Manzarek. This will not include the portions owned by John Densmore or the late frontman, Mr. Jim Morrison. I don't know if you guys ever heard of Jim Morrison?
I think once or twice.
Wasn't he the singer for the Smiths? Isn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
No, that was Patti Smith.
Smythe. I just kidding. The Black Keys, will.i.am, and co-publisher BMG have filed a lawsuit against a toy manufacturer, MGA, over the Poopsie Slime Surprise Dancing Unicorn Sings.
What?
So if you haven't, you need to go up and look this up again. Poopsie Slime Surprise Dancing Unicorn, and I'll tell you why, because I'm gonna tell you what it says. The video is amazing. It sings in a vocal style similar to Fergie. It sings, my poops, my poops, my poops, my poops. What you gonna do with all that poop? All that poop.
Okay.
I drive my parents crazy. I do it every day. It's literally a toy unicorn that sings and poops.
I get it. So it's a parody.
Yeah.
It's a parody, so they may be protected under parody law.
Yeah, like what Weird Al lived off of.
Yeah.
Still
does.
I think Weird Al actually always got permission though.
He does like to ask the artist, yeah.
Yeah, because like I can't remember, there was someone he was talking about. He always wanted to do it, but he wouldn't do it because they didn't want them to.
Yeah.
So I think he's being respectful there. So did you guys like the band Oasis?
Yeah, all right. Yeah, I get some of those tunes stuck in my head from time to time.
I love Oasis, and I could probably do like a 30-minute tangent on Oasis, but I'm not going to. Oasis fans recently received a glimmer of hope when founding member and former lead guitarist Noel Gallagher recently changed his stance on a potential reunion, saying he will never say never to a reunion. He left the band in August 2009, saying he could not go on working with his brother one day longer. So wasn't that long ago? So Blur got together, like that was like their big rival in England back in the day, and Liam was running his mouth basically saying he was begging me to be back in the band to reunite, and we never should have broke up in the first place. Noel's going through a divorce and blah blah blah. And he wants the money and things like that, and I'm just like, Liam's an asshole. He's always been an asshole, and I think it's probably going to happen, but I don't know. And a lot of people want it. The weird thing about like when these guys, like the last couple albums they had really went downhill. Like I don't know, they got clean, and this is a band that I'm like, man, I wish they'd get back together and start doing drugs again. As terrible as that makes it sound.
Yeah.
So they started making these really like, and they'd each write songs, and you could almost like pick them out of the albums, and then they split up and did their own thing. But then like if you took songs from one of their albums and the other one's album, you could make a new Oasis album.
Right.
It's like, so, and Noel, I love Noel. Noel is really like the driving talent of that band. Like one of my favorite things, and I wish they'd release this officially on vinyl, was their MTV Unplugged show where Liam was a dick and just decided he didn't want to be there, and Noel sings all the songs. I would love that. I have like a bootleg of it on like CD. It's great. So,
isn't it funny all that stuff that like we rarely taped off of television back then, and like you just assume it's always going to be around?
Yeah, you can watch it on YouTube, but I don't know. Like even like Wonderwall, which Liam sang and like Noel singing, was far better.
Yeah,
hands down. And I did find there's bootlegs of it on Discogs. They're like around $100, and I got a feeling at some point I'm probably going to buy one of those just because it's like one of my favorite things.
There was a TV. I'm going to digress for a second. There was a TV show back in the like late '90s. I think it was called Reverb, and it was just like bands playing, and they would show like 3 bands during the show, and they'd be like live performances. They wouldn't even necessarily be at the same place. It might have all been House of Blues, like various locations. Okay. I can't really remember. And then it'd be like 3 or 4 songs, and then they'd go to the other band.
Was that like on VH1 or something?
Dude, I don't remember. It might have been VH1.
So I remember that for some reason. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I mean, and I've got a VHS tape of like I just for a while was taping, when bands come on, and like some of them I even missed part of the songs, but like Archers of Loaf and Smoking Popes and Ani DeFranco
Smoking
and
Popes,
Cheap Trick.
Those are some good dudes.
Yeah, and those were some good. And actually, I don't know if you guys are fans at all, but like, I was really into Ani DeFranco back then, and she did a version of a new song called Jukebox that she hadn't come out yet, and I like that live version way better than the one that turned up on the record.
Isn't that funny? Like when an artist will do that, like you go to a show and you're like, man, this is freaking great, and then the album comes out and like it just feels like they gutted the song. And it's just bland.
I mean, it's not quite that bad. I like the album version, but like that live version to me was like way better.
I don't doubt that.
Yeah. All right. Back to what you were saying. Sorry.
Oh, no, we're good.
I interrupted.
So
he's already forgot.
Yeah.
What's that one song that they play at like every freaking sporting event?
We will rock you.
That's one. There's another one I got in mind.
We are the champions.
Yeah. What else by Queen? I'm in love with my car.
All my favorite songs.
Yeah. Rock and Roll Part 2.
Oh, Gary Glitter.
Gary Glitter actually got released from prison.
Oh yeah, he was like a child porn.
He likes to diddle children.
Yeah.
So he was released after serving half of his sentence. His biggest music contribution being the Rock and Roll Part 2, which is played at like every sports game on the planet always.
Yeah.
It's that dun, 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 and they go, hey. Dun,
Oh, yeah,
dun.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that song.
Doctor Who, hey,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
TARDIS.
And then so the 78-year-old whose real name is Paul Gadd, what a terrible name,
Egad.
was sent to prison in 2015 for 16 years for sexually abusing 3 girls age 13, 12, and 10. The singer was, I don't know how this works in the UK. The singer was freed automatically halfway through his sentence and is subject to license conditions. My assumption is that it's probably something like if he hasn't caused problems, he didn't have any extra things, he just gets released because he's been a good boy. And I'm sure this license conditions, he's probably on like a sex offender registry or something like that.
For sure.
Then he can't be by children, like Steve.
Wrong. He's lying.
That is not true. That is not true. Ozzy Osbourne recently announced he is retiring from touring and abruptly canceled his entire European tour.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard about that, but I didn't do a dive. Like, is there like, because I just saw a quote, something to the effect of, I didn't think that, it was going to end this way or something to that effect. And that's kind of all I saw. I didn't take and do a dive in. Is there like, has he got like medical conditions going on? Or what's going on?
So he has Parkinson's.
Okay.
And then it wasn't that long ago he suffered a serious fall. There was a surgery that he had to have, and it was like, I maybe I'm quoting this number wrong, but it was something like a 50-50 chance if he was even going to walk after that.
Yeah, like nerve damage from that fall.
Yeah. And they had the surgery, and they were like, "Oh, it went great," blah blah blah. But now, like, I saw a photo of him. He's walking with a cane. He can barely walk.
That's a shame.
Yeah. So basically, hey Ozzy, and Ozzy listens to the show.
Yeah.
Thank you
wait,
for all.
which Ozzy? Which Ozzy Osbourne?
We're gonna get to that.
Oh, okay. All right.
We're gonna get to that. Mr. Osborne, John Michael Osborne, to be
That's the
specific.
one.
Specific. Thank you for all your years of touring. Thanks for all the concerts. We appreciate everything you've done.
Absolutely, and I am so glad I managed to see Black Sabbath when they were touring. I don't know, it was maybe like 7 or 8 years ago, but with the band, that was an awesome show.
Well, now they can't get Ronnie James Dio back.
No.
So this actually created a problem for Judas Priest. They were set to tour with Ozzy in support of him. They released a statement in support of the Prince of Darkness and also stating they were looking for feasible opportunities to get back out on tour. So keep an eye out for that. The Chronic returned to streaming services. This is Dr. Dre's Grammy-winning debut album. So, Steve, you may not, I don't know if we did a thing about this on a way previous episode. Snoop Dogg bought Death Row Records, which was him, Dre, and Suge were all involved in. And Snoop decided to make it an NFT label. So, no physical media. Basically, long story short, you buy these NFT versions of the songs that are supposed to be, they're attached to like cryptocurrency, basically. So they can't be duplicated, yada, yada. And Snoop decided he was going to be like a trailblazer and be an all NFT label. And then this was one of the albums that was on there. So they pulled off all his streaming services. It sounds like the rights returned back to a different company with it. Yeah, or, so I don't know, maybe Snoop sold the rights back because his NFT stuff's not working.
What does NFT stand for? Like,
non-fungible
tokens.
Yep.
Yeah.
oh, I was just like no effing trace.
Yeah, right. No, actually, it's the opposite. It's like a never-ending trace of like, yeah. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we could go down a whole dive about how NFTs are kind of falling apart these days, but I hate NFTs, so I don't want to talk about them.
Yeah, me too. I get it.
So, did you guys ever hear about like Marilyn Manson when he was getting sued and stuff?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So varying people he was quote unquote in a relationship with claimed he was like raping, torturing, cutting them, drugging them, all kinds of things. One of which he settled in a lawsuit recently. So Marilyn Manson, or Brian Werner, as his given birth name, is being sued by a fan who claims that he sexually assaulted her when she was just 16 years old on a tour bus. And of course, like everything, this is one of those things that good old Marilyn's denying ever happened. So,
I mean, who knows? Who knows? I mean, I do know that, and I'm not really a Marilyn Manson fan, so this is not coming from a place of me like wanting to defend a hero or anything at all. I do believe one of the cases against him, she just dropped.
they settled.
And I would
Yeah.
and I would imagine. I mean, as he has said, he is into weird sex.
Yeah, there's stuff about like glass, like keeping them in glass containers.
Oh, really?
And like it was a lot of
Freak show, yeah.
odd things that clear. I mean, like don't get me wrong, like everybody's got their kink,
Right.
Yeah, so I can't judge them for that. But if someone's saying that they were tortured and so on,
Sure,
I mean,
against their will, no
we have
consent.
to take
Yeah,
some
yeah.
measure of validity in that truth.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
all right.
Agreed.
So, Steve, we had a couple deaths, right?
Yeah.
So we unfortunately lost Miss Lisa Marie Presley on a January 12th, 2023. My understanding how that played out was she was found unresponsive in her bedroom. Paramedics were called, which Steve and I both used to be paramedics. I read between the lines, and I believe they got a pulse back on her, and then they brought her to the hospital, and then she passed away at the hospital there. So, unfortunately there's that, but on the other side, at least she's with her dad now.
Yeah.
So,
That yeah, I mean, she was young, right?
yeah. I mean, her mom's still alive.
She is, but it made me think once more about Elvis dying young, and to what degree genetics might actually have played into that.
Right. Her son committed suicide at one point too. So like she certainly had other reasons to be depressed and have problems.
Yeah.
Sounds like they, there's a little bit of a fight going on with the estate. Like, Priscilla is objecting to the will, and there's some fighting going on. She says she's trying to keep the family together. And I think it came out too that like she had a daughter that nobody knew about or something like that came out of the woodwork.
Lisa Marie or Priscilla?
I believe it was Lisa.
Okay.
Yeah, there's like another family member that cropped up, and they're like, yeah, at the funeral they announced that they're part of the family and stuff like that.
Whoa.
There's a lot of weird stuff going on. I understand that she was the one that owned Graceland at this point.
That's what I think I read that too.
Yeah, so there's a lot of odd stuff going on.
Have you been to Graceland?
No, I'd love to go.
I haven't.
I went to Graceland last year for the first time. It was like a bucket list check item.
Was it cool?
Yeah, it was cool, man.
They have a whole.
I mean,
so I
if
was
you like
watching a
Elvis.
TV show where they go to Graceland. Is there a hotel right outside of it?
I mean, there might have been, but
Maybe, yeah, because the way they made it look on the show, like there was a hotel like literally like right across the street from it practically.
there probably was. I was on a road trip. It was like a 4-hour stop on my way through. So.
You're a little sleepy. You're like, oh, we're here.
No, I mean, I just wasn't spending the night there. Like I cruised in. I was by myself. Did the tour, but it was cool, man. It's definitely just like a snapshot in time to go into the house. Like it is not.
Yeah, I'm sure they
did
got
not
stuff
change
up.
very much from its state in the 70s when he died.
Yeah, I would love to go see it. Like when I watched that Elvis movie that came out, granted they, exaggerated certain things and it wasn't 100% factual all the time, but I just loved hearing it. I think they captured the right thing where they're like how much he loved to perform for people and then like the tragic side of it as well. So just the man, it's like everybody loved him, but no one loved him enough to help him.
Yeah.
In other losses, we lost Mr. David Crosby on January 18th. So I believe he was in the Birds, wasn't he?
Mm-hmm.
The Birds, of course, Crosby, Stills, and Nash.
Yeah.
And Young from time to time.
I watched was it Music in the Canyon on Netflix or something like that?
Yeah.
It's my understanding that he probably wasn't, I don't think he was on good terms with a lot of those guys, and he didn't really understand why.
Yeah, I did not follow that particular. I think it sort of went up and down over the years.
As it was. Supposedly he was working on a new album when he died.
Really?
Yeah. And then this other artist that we're going to kind of dive into a little bit here, Jeff Beck.
Oh,
Oh.
I didn't even hear that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Yeah, Jeff Beck died, and that was kind of a really terrible.
Oh, actually, I did. And that was one of the records. I found an old Jeff Beck record.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
We were listening to your house. You got a Wired, I think.
I believe so,
The
yeah.
live album. Yeah.
I got Wired. Yeah, Wired is a great album. So I prepped a little bit of kind of like a timeline of some of his other stuff. He died January 10th of 2023 here of bacterial meningitis.
Oh, I actually hadn't heard that was the
Somebody
cause.
else just passed with a bacterial infection. I can't think of who it is right now.
Well, if you think of it, let me know.
Listen, and you're getting ready to go into Jeff Beck here, correct?
Correct. So if you got something to say,
I got one more.
yeah.
Guitar hero of a slightly different stripe who also passed recently was Tom Verlaine.
Yep, I was
of
just gonna-
television.
I
would have been surprised if you hadn't. But when you said you were about to go into the deep dive, I was like, oh, we can't forget Tom.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
No, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. What was I don't know this artist.
band Television. I don't even know how to.
Well, so they
Describe them.
were. It's interesting. They're associated with punk music, with proto punk. You listen to them and you're like, this doesn't sound like what I would call punk. But I think a lot of the early stuff was like a little.
Yeah, I mean they're
little
kind of
artier like that.
kind of like similar to some of the Replacements, more tame stuff maybe.
Okay.
Just kind of like it's just I don't know rock. I think it falls under that umbrella more than punk rock or punk
well,
music.
they so CBGB's legendary punk venue. CBGB stands for Country Bluegrass and
Yep.
Blues, right? And the
That
owner
place
Hilly
isn't open
Crystal.
anymore.
It's not.
No, I think it's like a museum or
Is
something.
it?
No,
I mean, that would make sense, but
Yeah.
that was what he originally, wanted to have played there. And Tom and Richard Hell may have been in television at that time too, because he was the original bass player. But like they told him that's the kind of music they played, and they actually went in and helped build the stage there and like all this stuff. And then they came in and I think played like with Blondie and the Ramones and like, that was what turned CBGB's into a punk club, because they started bringing in like that small crowd of misfits that existed in New York, and it just kept rolling. But he was just a really cool guitar player. Didn't like, you don't think of guitar solos in punk music, but
Yeah.
like
No, not
television would
generally.
have these. They would have these very long, kind of winding, guitar solos that.
Yeah,
and-
very
and the other
emotive.
guy in the band. whose
usually
name
when I
can't
think of punk
remember,
music,
Boyd.
I would assume they don't know how to play the guitar very well.
Yeah. No, yeah. He was a legit player, and like, so I don't know. It's cool because it's just sort of another facet of the scene. But he recently passed.
Rest in peace.
Yeah. Marquee Moon.
All right, let's do that deep dive on good old Jeff Beck. So Geoffrey with a G, Arnold Beck, born 6/24/44 in Wallington. It's a town in the London borough of Sutton. He died January 10th of 23 at age 78. So he was heavily associated with the band The Yardbirds, obviously the Jeff Beck group, just Beck, Bogert, and Apis. I'd never heard that name before.
Me neither.
This was an offshoot of the Jeff Beck group with two Americans from the band Vanilla Fudge.
Oh, yeah, but Carmen Appice, he was the drummer.
I believe so.
I don't know how to pronounce the name either. So, but yeah.
So Mr. Beck grew up singing in the church choir, attempted to build his own guitar after learning on a borrowed one. He even featured glued together cigar boxes with a signpost as the neck, and then modeled aircraft controls for the strings. The frets were painted on. He was introduced as a teenager to Jimmy Page by his sister Anita. I don't know. Did you guys ever heard of Jimmy Page?
Once or twice.
It's ringing a bell.
I think he was in some band. He attended Wimbledon College of Art. In 1963, he was introduced to R&B by Ian Stewart, who was a member of the Rolling Stones. Having played and recorded with some smaller groups, he even worked as a session musician. In March of 65, he was recruited to the Yardbirds, succeeding Mr. Eric Clapton. He was suggested to the band by Jimmy Page. There you go, guys. It's all about who you know and who likes you. He did a 20-month stint with them in one album. Then next up, he was featured in the Jeff Beck group, which consisted of among all people, Rod Stewart.
Really?
Yeah. He did. Now you're gonna tell us, but did he play in the Faces as well with Rod Stewart?
That I don't know. I don't remember seeing that.
I think he did, but I could be wrong about that. I was not a huge Rod Stewart fan.
Do you know who the bassist was for the Jeff Beck group?
I know who Tal, the young girl who plays with him now, but who?
Ronnie Wood.
Oh, from the Stones.
Yep.
Ah.
Both the Rolling Stones and Pink Floyd tried to recruit him at times. During the 70s, we saw a different version of the Jeff Beck group. Then we saw a dissolution of Beck and Bogart and Apis. 1975, we saw him release Blow by Blow. It was probably his most commercially successful release that he had ever done. He was an interesting guy. He was known to return to the studios to just redo stuff over and over because he wanted to make sure it was perfect. He was just such a consummate detail man. 1976, we saw him return to the studio and record Wired. This was a jazz fusion style, which, what did you think of that overall?
So I actually like that album. Blow by Blow is also that fusion style, and I remember the first time I bought it, and it kind of turned me off at first, just hearing some of those sounds. Like a lot of times it's the keyboard sounds for me that something about it. But I've gotten into that album since then. That's got some funky stuff on it.
It's good.
Yeah.
I mean, I originally what turned me off of some of his stuff was no singing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just weird to sit down with an album. I got a Booker T and the MCG's album, and there's no vocals, and they're I don't know what it is. It's just
you just
it's
don't
so,
like instrumental rock.
Yeah,
Okay.
I kept it. I kept the Booker T, but it just because they're doing Beatles covers.
Okay.
So, the 80s, we saw a series of appearances with the Yardbirds alumni like Clapton, Sting, Page, and Rod Stewart. He played on Bon Jovi's solo album Blaze of Glory. This was also used as the title theme for the movie Young Guns 2. Great movie.
Great movie.
He played on the score for Days of Thunder and did some work with Roger Waters and Kate Bush. The Yardbirds were inducted to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, during which he said, "Someone told me I should be proud tonight, but I'm not because they kicked me out. They did. Fuck them." So, 2000 saw him win his third Grammy for the Best Rock Instrumental Performance for the song Dirty Mind of the album You Had It Coming. 2003, he won his fourth Grammy for the same category for the song Plan B off his 2003 release Jeff. He was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as a solo artist in 2009. He took the stage with Jimmy Page, Ronnie Wood, Joe Perry, and Metallica. 2011, he was given 2 honorary degrees from 2 different British universities. Since then, he had done several side projects with his good friend Johnny Depp. He was featured on 2 tracks in Ozzy Osbourne's most recent release, Patient Number 9.
Yeah, quite a career, man.
Yeah, no doubt.
And that's just the stuff I picked out. Dude had a lot of other stuff. He was well loved. The most recent thing I saw, there was a campaign with him and Paul McCartney about veganism. That was lost. So anyway, Jeff Beck, thanks for the tunes.
Yeah. I watched a pretty cool. There's a dude on YouTube, Rick Beato, and he's a music education guy, talks a lot about guitar playing and music production and stuff. And so he did this one episode that was just basically about Jeff Beck and why nobody can play like him.
Yeah, Clapton said it's all in his hands.
That's
said
exactly what Rick said too.
Yeah, they said Clapton made it sound like he was just really in awe of what Jeff Beck's hands could do.
And it's true because he had this this control of the string bending that is just it is kind of otherworldly, it.
Yeah, and that subtle nuance, that attention to detail.
Yeah.
I don't know that a lot of people could probably pull that off.
He also, I think, was famous. Did you come across stuff about him working on cars?
No.
Oh, that was apparently, as I understand, was a major hobby, and in fact, would sometimes prevent him from like wanting to come and do new albums. Like he just wanted to like stay home and work on his cars.
I get that when I'm at work nursing. I'm like, man, I just want to go home and listen to records.
Yeah, right.
Certainly don't want to be here. All right. So, hey, we got a couple loose ends. One of which is about a band that Stu brought to the table, Coven.
Oh, Coven.
Yeah. So this, I feel haunted.
Probably just clipped that.
So this is an American rock group that was formed in the late 60s in early Chicago, or in Chicago. Bassist Greg Oz Osborne. And then was Witchcraft Destroys Minds and Reaps Souls. Was that their first album?
That was their first album, yeah.
That was released in 1969. But I think Black Sabbath's first album was in 1970.
Yeah.
So there was some big debate, and I'm like, because Stu was like, I don't know, did somebody steal something from somebody? So I like went down this big deep dive, and what I got out of it was they actually recorded their albums super close together. Like it was like only a few months. Coven was first, like they were in the studio first, but they actually, Black Sabbath didn't hear about them until like they had a demo done and everything.
Yeah.
And then Ozzy, or John Michael Osborne, the traditional Ozzy that we think of when we hear Ozzy, he apparently had been using that name since he was a child. So like, just a weird coincidence is what I got out of it.
I think so. That was what I picked up. I did a little dive on them back when I first bought that album, when I first discovered who they were. And I kind of came to the same conclusion you did, was that like there's maybe something in the air that like they both picked up on in terms of like, you know, Black Sabbath. I mean, there was the movie Black Sabbath, which Black Sabbath always claimed was where they got their name from.
Right.
You know, but
and everyone's like, we hate church.
yeah. Well, Geezer Butler actually, I think from Sabbath. Am I? I could be lying about this. I feel like he was maybe a Catholic.
Only lying if
like
it's intentional.
Yeah, but I might be making this up.
Well,
Yeah.
we should find out.
Yeah.
What's your religion, sir?
Rock and roll.
Yeah, that's my religion, for sure. Stu mentioned a song when we were talking about the androgyny piece, where the person sings, I'm flamboyant. That is Dorian Electra.
Oh, thanks for finding that.
Yeah. I'm not going to criticize the artist, but I'm just going to say that music was not really something I was super into. I listened to that song and I'm like, man, Stu finds the weirdest crap to listen to.
Dude,
and I mean that
Stu's
is
very eccentric.
That came
fellow.
from my friend Jeff
Jeff
Greenwood.
Beck?
No, Jeff Greenwood, who plays. He's a musician, plays under the name Very Serious, and actually wrote one of my favorite songs of last year that I bought and have listened to a number of times. And
I think Steve's going to probably start listening to Dorian.
No, I don't think
You don't
so.
think that's a good
No.
chance?
No.
I had about 10 seconds and I was like, yeah, I'm out.
that's enough for me too.
Not
Really,
for me.
I wasn't into it. But
So, when we were talking, I forgot to mention some of the stuff I picked up recently. So if my wife's listening, earmuffs. So at the record sale yesterday, I got the Go-Go's, Beauty and the Beat.
Nice.
For $1. $1.
Ooh.
I got Tammy Wynette's Stand By Your Man, and it's pretty freaking nice shape. Stu, I think you'd like this one. I got the New York Dolls, In Too Much, Too Soon.
oh,
Yeah.
I haven't listened to it yet.
is that their second album?
I don't know. I didn't listen to it, but I was just like, I was about to leave, and Aaron's like, hey, let's look through these boxes. And I pulled that out, and I'm like, well, I can't not buy this.
Dude,
I never not see or never see the New York Dolls anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
No. And is it an original pressing, like
Yeah.
an old? I bet that's their second album, which I've never heard. I know their first album front to back, but like,
It's the one where they're on the couch.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's the first. Yeah,
I do want to get that at some point. Hall & Oates,
jealous.
H2O. I love me some Hall & Oates.
well, you're on your own there.
It's got Maneater on it. It's a good song.
That is a good song.
Cheap Trick, Heaven Tonight.
Oh yeah,
Bryan Adams, Reckless, which has like Run to Me and a couple of his other popular songs.
Okay.
It was like $8. I'm not a huge Bruce Springsteen fan, but I did buy a copy of Born to Run.
Oh, nice.
That's a good album. This is probably my favorite thing that I got. The Rolling Stone, December's Children, and Everybody's. So it's a mono copy.
Nice.
whoa.
Yeah.
So what's I don't know that one. What's Have you had a chance to listen to it yet, or?
No, that's actually exactly what I was listening to, like right before I got here. I don't know. I don't know. Do either of you like listen to mono stuff, or like feel like you know much about mono?
I do know some about it, and I have some albums that were recorded in mono.
Do you like it, or?
I got no problem with it. I mean, especially because they knew they were recording in mono. It was the only option back then. So they had,
My understanding
different
is
techniques.
like stereo was considered to be a novelty.
Yeah, originally.
Yeah, and like techs would work on the stereo versions, whereas the bands worked on the mono. So I've really come to appreciate it. So this is obviously probably like this is the American version. They have another album in the UK with the same cover, really called "Out of Our Heads." So on this album, it's got "She Said Yeah." Let's see, another good song, "Get Off My Cloud," "As the Tears Go By."
Hey, you. Yeah.
So it's a good.
Yeah, those are good tunes.
But when I saw it, it was generally a little bit more beat up than I'd like, but it was definitely going to play, and it was going to play good. And I paid $35 for it, so I probably overpaid a little bit on that, but I was like, I just got excited about it. I couldn't pass that up. I got Thin Lizzy, Live and Dangerous.
Nice.
Did you know Huey Lewis plays on that?
Really?
I did not know. Is he credited as bluesy Huey Lewis on that one?
I don't know.
That's what he went by early on.
Yeah, he's one of the stage musicians because it's a live album. So yeah,
that's cool.
How about Charlie Musselwhite? You know any Charlie Musselwhite?
A little bit. Soul guy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Tennessee Woman I picked up. Benjamin Booker, Witness. It's kind of a blues type of thing. Flying Burrito Brothers, Flying Again.
Okay.
That's like a later album, so it's very different than the rest of their stuff.
Is it still very like country?
It's like almost more country rock.
Okay.
But
I might have that.
I love the Flying Burrito Brothers, and that one I took a chance on because I didn't know the album. This is probably another one of my freaking favorite things that I found. So my friend Armando, shout out to Armando, Vintage Mio Records. You can find him on Facebook, and this is my guy. He's out in the Oregon area. He was able to order me a copy of Dave Matthews Live at Luther College.
Yeah.
That is like him and Tim Reynolds just doing acoustic stuff. It's freaking amazing. It's probably my absolute favorite like Dave Matthews thing that I've ever listened to. It's just something beautiful and simple about just two acoustic guitars.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, it's a I think 4 LP. The interesting thing is it's at 150 gram vinyl, and that's still technically considered to be audiophile, but it's definitely a weight difference when you pick it up. Bush 16 Stone. Not a Bush guy?
Not a Bush guy.
Oh, I love Bush.
Do you?
Yeah. That's like the one album I had to have. Green Day, American Idiot. That's not that hard of a one to find. Matthew's Sweet Girlfriend, which I made Steve listen to that when we were on our way back from Butch Walker, but I think Steve had some substances on board. So, do you care if I mention what you may have had on board?
Oh, I was eating some gummies, man.
Yeah. So he literally says to me,
"I'm in Chicago."
He said, "I'm high as fuck right now." I was not. I was driving. They got T-Rex, Dandy in the Underworld.
Oh, yeah.
Band of Heathens, Remote Transmissions. This is them playing like some covers with other people, like Butch Walker's on a song.
Oh, nice.
So, Jamiroquai, Emergency on Planet Earth. I've been really getting into GA20. You listen to them?
No.
It's like blues rock type of thing. They're still playing.
Okay.
I think they're on Karma Chief's label. I got 2 of their records, and then of course Butch Walker's new album As Glenn came in the mail.
Oh, nice.
So that's exciting stuff. Love it.
Man, I thought you were a music fan.
Yeah.
You really...
I didn't want to tell you how much money I spent recently.
They were all $1, right?
Yeah. Right.
They're all like,
Couldn't believe it. They were all $1.
Miraculously.
Wow.
So I got a problem. And
you know what I love about doing this with you is that now when I buy records, I'm like, well, it's for work.
Yeah. I have to.
It's research.
Yeah.
I have to research.
Yeah, right.
I have to.
James is going to ask what I bought. Like, I can't say nothing.
Yeah. You don't have to tell her that I'm like, it doesn't have to be what you bought. You can just what you're into.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
But you don't need to tell her that.
Yeah.
I am at my heart an enabler.
Yeah.
Yes, I can attest to this very much so. We worked together for a few years.
And I'm like, oh, Steve, you want more beer? Totally buy the beer. It's fine. You got to do what you love.
question.
So, I think we're getting close to an hour now, huh?
Oh shit! I forgot to push record. No, I'm just kidding. It's. I don't know because it's not on time code. It's just it's
okay.
on bars right now. So we're approaching 2,000 bars, I think.
2,000 bars. Isn't that a blues album?
Yeah.
Or is that
1940? 2,000 bars. That is the name of our next album, isn't it? That's
Well, I just thought that was like the goal for the new year is like let's visit 2,000 bars.
2,000
I thought that was maybe like Steve's weekend.
Like let's go.
it's 2023, so we got to visit 20.
Let's go boozing.
Yeah.
I did find a original sealed copy of Gaslight Anthem's 59 Sound, which was the last record in their so far released collection.
That's the only album of them theirs I own.
Yeah, really, yeah. I've been looking for that one. Like it just when the exclusive company was still open around here, where I got 90% of my stuff, they'd never had 59 Sound, and I was like, why can I not find this album? And I think that's where I bought it. Actually,
really?
Yeah. That's why I had one copy, and James took it. But I'd seen it for sale for just ridiculous prices, and like people would be like, "Oh, I have a second copy of this," and it was usually some like colored, release, special thing,
flippers.
and they want $70 for it. I'm like, I love the album, but I'm not paying $70.
That's
like,
exactly how I feel about Fall Out Boy's Infinity on High. I would love to get that album, but they did the 15th anniversary of it. It was a super nice copy. Everybody bought it up, and that's all online for like $90, $100. I'm like, I'm not paying a freaking flipper.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You can sit on that for until vinyl slows down a little bit.
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah, I picked it up for like $17. I was stoked.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good find.
That's good stuff. So, as you know, sometimes we like to do like an educational thing, talk about something historical. So one of the things I found was, did you guys know that Apple Computers and Apple Corps, the Beatles record label, do you know they were pretty much fighting it out for years?
No. I'm not surprised, but I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't either. And I was reading about it, and I'm like, wow, this is crappy, like what they did. So for the purpose of this, Apple Corps will be Beatles. Apple Computer will be Apple Computers. So one of these inspires diehard fans to swear off buying PCs, Android-based products, some even dropping thousands of dollars every year. The other brings to mind a mobby-haired British boys from Liverpool who would arguably go on to become one of the most important bands in history.
Okay, which is which?
I don't think Steve Jobs ever had long hair. Yeah. So Steve Jobs co-founded Apple Computers in 1976, claiming he chose that name because it would be in the phone book before Atari. They adopted a stylized rainbow logo with a bite missing. Apple Corps, having lost their beloved manager Brian Epstein in 1967, the Beatles registered their first trademark in 1969, looking to gain more control over their finances and how their profits were utilized. They adopted a half-green apple. And then, so this is where stuff kind of goes south. So Apple Corps would launch the first opening salvo in 1978, suing Apple for trademark infringement. So this dragged on all the way until 1981. I'm sure they're, sending lawyers here and lawyers there type of stuff. They settled out of court. The Apple Computer would end up paying $80,000, and then an agreement was made. This was like a secondary agreement. Apple Corps would never enter the world of computers or use a rainbow apple logo, as I described earlier. Apple Computer was never to enter the world of music or to use a half-green apple logo, as I described earlier.
It's a good thing there's no such thing as Apple Music.
Yeah.
Right. So you'd think, all good, right? No problems. We all got what we want. We're chill. I don't think either camp could, foresee the blending and blurring of music and computers that we would see today.
True.
So the two camps would again find themselves in court in 1991 when Apple Corps sued, claiming that Apple Computers violated their previous agreement. The logic was that they were making computers in 1989 that were capable of making sound, and this violated the agreement. So Apple Computers ended up paying another $26.5 million.
Oof.
So if I'm in Apple Computers right now, I'd be like, I hate the Beatles.
Yeah. Is it the Beatles doing it themselves, or is it their
Well, my
lawyers,
understanding
or-
is they own that company, so
Yep.
like they
Okay.
probably knew this was happening.
Yeah.
I would have to assume. All right, so this would lead to another agreement. Apple Computer could be involved in digital music. However, they could never distribute physical materials like CDs, cassettes, or vinyl, although not a ton of people were thinking about records in 1991.
Yeah, well, they kind of won that one, didn't they? Like,
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure you can see where this is going.
Oh, yeah. He's like, oh yeah, we're not gonna make CDs. He's
We're
like,
never gonna
totally
make
got something
anything
up his
physical.
sleeve there. It's like, yeah.
January of 2001, we saw the release of iTunes to the world. This would be Apple Computer's software that would act like a sort of jukebox. Shortly after that came the first iPod. In April 2003, this would bring another addition, would be the iTunes Music Store. So we had iTunes software that would basically turn your computer into a jukebox. And then we had the iTunes Music Store come out. So like, hey, you can buy your tunes here, guys. You know, this is like post Napster and all that. The name Apple was not used in the iTunes Music Store name. However, Apple Computer logo was prominently used in all of the like media and advertisements and stuff like that. So what do you think happened?
Everyone got along.
Yeah, everyone just went, oh, it's all good.
Yeah, I'm so glad everybody's succeeding.
Yeah, everybody's happy.
Yeah.
So Apple Corp. launched another lawsuit in 1991, claiming once again a violation of the agreement. This would drag on until 2006, when the High Court, it said, I'm assuming that's the British court, came to the decision that digital music is a completely different market than physical media. Apple Computers prevails on this one. The war seemingly had been over since 2007. Apple even came to an agreement with the Beatles to make the Beatles catalog available in 2010.
I remember when that happened. They were like
That was a
making
big deal.
about that. Yeah.
I didn't know all of this other stuff. Like, I just assumed that the Beatles weren't on board with digital music is what it was. That's what I thought at the time. Then I was like, oh, good thing you guys are in the modern era.
Yeah, because you look at the two logos, and neither of them remind me, at least, of the other one. Like,
I think the whole thing's ridiculous because I'm like, I don't think they were ever gonna be in danger of really impacting each other's business.
Well, I mean, that's like these sorts of lawsuits are about, claiming that people will be confused between the two companies, whatever they are, right? That like somehow people are going to be confused that Apple Computers aren't the same thing as Apple, Music, Apple Corp.
Or they're
right?
gonna assume that they're together.
Yeah. So this is like, this is like Black Flag touring under like 3 different names.
Yeah.
And like it was like, well, people are going to be confused about which one they're seeing. So I mean, that's why they're
I
suing
have
each
to
other.
assume that the Beatles camp, they were probably worried that people were gonna think that the Beatles were making computers. That's
Yeah,
what my
maybe.
guess is. But at that point, like, not everybody had a computer. Like, it wasn't a big deal when that all started.
I wonder if a bunch of it came because of actually the logo of the Apple with a bite taken out of it.
Yeah, I'm assuming.
Because a lot of times, like I know when I registered like Moonhop Media, right? Like companies can actually have the same names if they're in completely different industries, right? So, so I wonder if like what actually it was like it was the name plus like the logos being somewhat similar, the Apple with a bite taken out of it. And if it had been something else, it might never have happened.
Yeah. I think that's a very reasonable thing. I just think it's also interesting that in this case we see the British kind of being the transgressor, the aggressive one, because usually like Americans are so like lawsuit happy with stuff.
True, yeah.
So I find that really interesting that kind of played out that way.
Well, our legal system came from somewhere. And that, I mean,
we learn from the best.
yeah, I mean that's direct descendants of
Through that.
Yet another thing we've stolen.
Yeah.
So obviously we're going to wrap stuff up here quick, but I did want to ask you before we finalize things here, did you get a chance to finish that Jossie record?
Oh yeah. I've listened to it a couple of times, man.
Did you like it?
Oh, totally. Yeah. I enjoyed it, man. It's a lot
Right
of
up
fun.
your alley. Good.
Yeah, it was cool.
Good. I like sharing music. So, all right, guys. You guys got anything before we cut her out?
No.
So just a reminder, you can follow us on our Facebook page, Just One More Record Podcast. Then there is a wonderful email button on there that you can hit. Send us a message. We'd love to hear from you. Love to hear what you're into, what you're playing, recommendations for us to check out. I think by now you're probably getting a rough idea what we all like for music. So,
Pretty much everything.
Yeah, between the three of us.
Pretty much anything. We're musical whores. So,
Wow.
yeah. Steve, where can we find you on the old Instagram?
I believe it is Just One More Record Podcast.
Yeah, if you're listening to us
I
on
always
like
forget the exact name of it.
Apple Music,
A lot of words.
Spotify, please leave us a review. It really helps the show out. We don't do this because we're going to get rich. Well, we'd like to get rich. But
Wait, hold up. We're not getting rich off this?
Stu's like,
We're being enriched, Stu. Enriched.
Oh, that's what you said.
we're doing a service to the community.
That's right.
So, but yeah, if you can shoot us some reviews, we'd like to, tell your friends, tell your mom that if she loves you, she'll listen to the podcast. So
Tell your mom we love her.
tell your mom, Stu loves your mom. So, and last but not least, just remember, there's always more vinyl.